Hello friends, Coach Bob and Coach Vic here today, day 2 of our return trip.
That's right.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And we are leaving Kingman, Arizona, and we will end up in
Williams, Arizona.
for the first gas stop,
And then
Holbrook, Arizona for
Holbrook.
the second stop, and then
Gallup, New Mexico.
Gallup, New Mexico. So it's supposed to be a little cooler there. It's hot here already.
It's not like yesterday, so I'm totally happy with it.
She's happy. All right, so what we're gonna do is we are going to do a little trip. We're gonna get our kicks on
Route 66.
That's what we're gonna do.
And we just had a bagel. Our first breakfast we've had since we've been on the trip.
If it looks late, that's because it's late. It's 8 o'clock here,
Wow.
which means at our destination it is 9 a.m. And so we have to kind of keep an eye on that, because if we look at it and we go, okay, at 1 p.m. it's gonna be 90, but at 2 p.m. it's gonna be 108, then we need to make sure that we adjust for their time zone, because they're not posting everything in our time zone, they're posting it in the time
But
zone
where
of
we're
your
going is
destination.
cooler than it is here.
It should be cooler when we get there
That's
than
what
it
the
is here
weather says.
right now.
So.
So we had a short day planned. It was a low mid 300 whatever. We're extending that 20 to 50 miles based on, you know, getting out on Route 66 and doing a little bit of sightseeing. And that's what we're gonna do.
I do.
This is what the morning looks like at 8 a.m. Yes. Does it look hot? It should. You know why? Because it is! And this is kind of the way we do our stop each time. My helmet goes on the left side. Hers goes on the right side because of my GoPro. And everything sits perfectly. I get off, put those things on there, pull the backrest out, pop the backrest right there, unload her wheelchair, and we're good to go. And that's how we do it.
Go. I don't even know what to say.
Hang on, look at me. Smile. See if you got a poppy seed in your tooth. Nope. Clean teeth. Historic Route 66. So many things can be said about it. Will Rogers Highway, the main street of America, or the Mother Road. You know, Route 66 represents so much for America, and there are volumes of books written on it. But it really does have a romantic feel. Maybe it's in my mind, but I don't think it is. There's more to it than that, because this road represents so much to this great country. Route 66 was established on November 11th, 1926. 2,448 miles long. You know, this road served as the Great Western Migration Route during the 1930s Dust Bowl. Whether it's the Route 66 television series from the 60s or the 1939 Steinbeck novel, The Grapes of Wrath, where Route 66 represents escape and loss. There is really something special about this place. You need to get out here. You need to put your wheels down on Route 66. At every turn, there's something special, something cool. We found this little gas station. We snapped a few pictures. Just enjoy the beauty that is Route 66. As we left the historic and super cool gas station there on Route 66, we couldn't help but recognize the majesty of what was around us. You know, the mesas are absolutely stunning out here. The greenery is so bold. Seeing the railroad right by the highway just gives you that sense of what people had to be thinking. Those dreams of greatness as they headed west, hoping for more. As we continue down Route 66, all of a sudden, you pop out, and then you're right there on Interstate 40. We grab Interstate 40 and head eastbound towards Williams, Arizona. Is the southern terminus of the Grand Canyon Railway, sitting at an elevation of 6,766 feet and a population of just over 3,000. It is also known as the gateway to the Grand Canyon. Williams has had some movies filmed there: The Guns of Timberland with Alan Ladd, Midnight Run with Robert De Niro, and Speechless with Michael Keaton. Even the interstate is magnificent as we climb above 6,000 feet. As you can see, we're starting to see those trees, those darn trees. It's starting to make me feel a little bit like home, and I like that. Enjoy the ride to Williams. All right, we are in Williams, Arizona, and it is absolutely beautiful. The temperature is perfect. Been talking to some really nice people. We planned on making this like a 10-minute stop. We've been here about an hour. It was super nice. So the day is growing longer, but not so much in miles. We did do some extra miles on Route 66, which was well worth it.
That was worth it. It was really nice.
I will say that there are parts of Route 66 that have on your big boy pants. You're gonna get jostled around a bit. There are also parts of the interstate like that too, so you know, you can't just one size fits all. We saw a lot of motorcycles out there, and I will tell you, every motorcycle guy we saw looked happy, didn't they?
We are in Williamson right now.
Williams,
Arizona. I really like this place.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I was talking to a fellow just a few minutes ago. He was saying that this place gets packed at certain times of year for big Route 66 rides and runs up through the Grand Canyon and that sort of thing. So this is a cool place to be, both figuratively and temperature-wise.
See, if Coach Bob was willing to spend another hour, I'd drive around the town for a little bit, just look around. It's the first place I really liked.
All right, you ready to roll, Mama?
I mean, like to hang out at.
Yeah,
yes,
like
ready,
to hang out.
Yes, ready to roll.
All right, here we go. As we left Williams, Arizona, it was apparent we were in for some beautiful weather. It was nice, cool. You could see the puffy clouds out there, and when you looked off into the mountains, you could see the shadows from the clouds. I always loved that look. The conversation was good, the ride was pleasant, the road surface smooth, the traffic light. It was the perfect time to tour. Speaking of touring, I was asked a question. What would I prefer? The floorboards or running boards, or the foot pegs? Now, historically, I am not a touring guy, and I think most of you know that already. I come from a riding background of sport bikes, and I did have a Harley for a long time, but it wasn't the touring type Harley. It was 8 hangers and forward controls. It was a pretty radical, some would say ridiculous looking machine. I loved it, rode it for many years. I would not call it the queen of comfort, but I did love riding that motorcycle. So I'm not going to avoid the question, running boards or foot pegs. For Coach Bob, at least for now, it's foot pegs. I enjoy foot pegs. I like the way they feel under my feet. I like being able to press down in individual places on the bottom of the sole of my foot and use that as a pressure point to massage my foot, so to speak. And I just like the idea of how I can move my feet around. I also love the intensity, the planted feeling that my feet have on a peg, and they just feel more solid. Maybe that's from when I rode dirt bikes and being able to move and manipulate the machine with my body weight. But that planted feeling adds confidence to me when I ride. And it really does make a difference in how I feel. Now, I do have the highway pegs. I even have the highway pegs set up with a pair of foot pegs, not a board. There are a lot of people who want the board, and I do see the beauty of being able to move your feet around on the long running board of the 2020. And I'm not going to say that if I rode one on a tour across the country that I wouldn't change my position on it, because honestly, I've never toured on anything with flat boards. So I can only speak to what I know, and what I know works for me. So I personally enjoy the foot pegs. If you hate foot pegs and love the running boards, well, that's awesome, man. I think that's great for you. We did in excess of 2,000 miles east to west, and we're going to be doing more than that on the way back. And from my mathematical noggin here, I would say that we're going to do over 5,000 miles on this trip. Knowing that, if I'm comfortable with foot pegs at over 5,000 miles, who knows, maybe I am a touring guy now. I never really thought too much about how I would define what I do. But this has been a great adventure so far and will continue to be, and I am a touring man now. So there you have it. You're going to have to make your own decision on whether you get foot pegs or you get boards. Personally, if you're comfortable with pegs, they work. I've proven that they work. And don't let anyone tell you what you have to use and what you don't have to use. Use what your body says works. And like I said earlier, I'm a touring guy now. I'm still a sport bike guy, but I'm a guy that has crossed a continent. I think that justifies me as having a little bit of credibility as a touring guy now. It feels pretty good. Anyway, Coach Vic saw this Walnut Canyon place over here, and we're going to pull over and check it out. So let's see what it looks like. All right, we are at Walnut Canyon National Monument.
Yes, we are. Overlook area is closed, so can't really see it in that aspect, but maybe up here we can see
Well,
it
it depends. I mean, if you're willing to break rules like I am, yeah, you'll see it.
Beautiful.
I won't. The heat grabbed a hold of us just as soon as we left the altitude that Williams offered. It started getting hot. It was hanging on to us, didn't want us to go. As we began to approach Holbrook, Arizona. Holbrook is in Navajo County and has a population of just over 5,000 people. Holbrook was founded in the early 1880s and it was a railroad town. It was named after Henry Randolph Holbrook. The Holbrook area was initially inhabited by a lot of Native Americans, and I would go down the list of tribes, but I'm sure that I would mess those up. If you want to hear a South Georgia boy pronounce long words, you're in the right place, but I think I'm going to pass on this one. Holbrook did have a reputation as a Wild West town. They had some serious shootouts there that are, that made history. It was a horse-thieving, cattle-rustling, hash knife outfit Wild West cow town. It also is famous for its meteor activity. Holbrook actually witnessed its own small meteor event in 1912. There was a smoke trail in the sky, and soon around 7:15 p.m., a meteorite that weighed about 419 pounds came blasting through the atmosphere. Little fragments rained down all over Navajo County. The primary explosion was heard about 40 miles away. The witnesses in Holbrook described the event as the loudest thing they had ever heard. The climate, I would say, it's hot, at least in Coach Bob world. So let's make our gas stop in Holbrook, Arizona. All right, friends, we are in Holbrook, Arizona.
Holbrook, yeah, Arizona.
94 miles from Gallup, New Mexico. I will say this, Arizona did not disappoint. We thought we were going to beat the heat their last day, but oh no.
Hot again.
They say it's supposed to be a little cooler when we get into New Mexico. We'll see. When we stopped in Williams, we were at over 7,000 feet, and it was nice and cool. As soon as we started descending and kind of doing the up and down, it started getting pretty warm. Not as bad as yesterday, certainly not as bad as on the way out, but like I said, Arizona's clinging to us, baby. Hang on, Vic. Hang on, Coach Vic. Please don't leave me. Arizona loves Coach Vic.
Yeah.
Wants her to stay. People have been amazing. I'm just telling you, people in Arizona have been just so cool. Conversation everywhere we go.
He's the talker.
Oh.
He's got a gift for gab. He saw someone on the motorcycle he was going to drive here on.
Yeah, an FJR 1300, which was my motorcycle of choice. Saw a gentleman that was in his 70s, early 70s, pull up. He had one in the trailer. We talked about it. He had an ES model. Very nice. Anyway, he's a King Air man. For those in the aviation world, you know what that is. We're going to do this last 94 miles and just enjoy the sunshine. The further east we got in Arizona, the clouds started to develop. The temperature began to drop, and the ride got very, very pleasant. The wind wasn't crazy, although the fields were open. This was kind of a first on this trip. To just be able to ride out in the open like this and not get buffeted by the wind, it was really nice. And for the temperatures to be down low, it just made the scenery even that much more enticing. As we watched the open range cattle wandering around out in the fields, and we saw the dried creek beds and a little bit of water here and there, I couldn't help but remember a few years ago going to a trip out into Arizona for a Navajo reservation ministry trip. We came out here and did a lot of work. And when I say a lot of work, we did a lot of work. I mean, you name it. When it was plumbing, electrical, it was digging holes, it was hammering nails, it was whatever was needed. It was a wonderful trip. The Navajo people were absolutely intriguing to me. The way they so calmly communicated and conveyed their messages, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from them. It was a wonderful trip, and one that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. Now on to a question that I had. I was asked about what kind of tire pressure I'm running. So on the front tires of the CanAm, you'll notice that the tires that come on it tell you can run from 15 to 30 psi. I would say that is quite a variance. I do run mine at 30 psi cold. Sometimes it depends on the temperature changes during the day, but 30 psi is kind of my baseline, and that's what I do. So you may do something different, and that is fine. But I was asked how it handled and how much bouncing I got with the pressure that I ran. At 30 psi, I'm not bouncing all over the road, and let me tell you, we hit some rough road. We hit a lot of construction, and I did send quite a few water bottles flying out of my fancy schmancy Ram mount super duper self-leveling cup holder. And some of those water bottles were full of water. So, but the tracking on the CanAm at that air pressure seemed to be perfect for me. I had no problems at all. I do expect in the future to maybe make some changes to the suspension, but that's going to be a year or two down the road, and it's not something that I feel is pressing. The Spyder is fully capable out of the box to be able to get on it and head down the road and cross a continent on it. I was also asked about oil changes. Now, it's based on kilometers, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, don't have my book sitting right in here in front of me, but I believe it's every 9,300 miles that the oil change has to be done after your first oil change. I am using what is recommended in the owner's manual. It was the BRP kit that came with it. I believe it is a 5W40. I know there are companies that are offering some full synthetics. Le Monster is one of those, and I will look into that. He also changes the drain plugs out, which I'm definitely going to do. I don't like the Allen bolt head drain plugs or the Torx bolt head drain plugs. I do like being able to use a conventional socket, so that will definitely be something that's changed in the not so distant future. But as far as maintaining it, I checked the oil. I've had no leaks. I've had no problems. The tires have maintained pressure. The temperature on the CanAm is run perfectly. You can see when you do check the oil, especially if you're running long days and many miles, with a 9,000 plus mile interval on your oil change. I will have done over 5,000 miles on this trip. So I've done over half of the interval once I return to Tallahassee. In this extreme heat, I will probably change the oil. Even if I'm not at my mileage interval, I will probably change it at the end of the summer as the temperature starts to drop. If I do hit the 9,000 mile mark during the summertime, obviously I will go ahead and change it. The oil does look okay. It is not as clear as it was when I first put it in. I would not expect it to be. So there you have it, a little air pressure on the tire information and the oil information. Off in the distance, we're starting to see a few rain clouds. It's getting even cooler. I know that we're getting close to New Mexico. So let's ride our last stretch in Arizona and enjoy the last fresh air that Arizona has to offer. Well, we have once again entered the land of enchantment, beautiful New Mexico. The air is cool and the evening is just getting ready to begin as we get ready to get into our lovely motel room. I know Coach Vic is ready to get off of this thing, so let's focus on the task at hand and we will see you at the motel.
It's Coach Bob doing the parking.
Oh, hello friends. How you doing? We're just talking about you.
Yeah.
Wondering if you were thinking about us this evening, going, I wonder how Coach Vic and Coach Bob did today and what was their actual mileage. Our projected mileage was 334 miles. We ended up doing 374.6 miles today. We did a little extra mileage on Route 66 and we went to Walnut Canyon.
Which was a nice diversion.
It was really nice. Coach Vic, we had a guy take our picture. I'll post some pictures of the pictures that the guy took. He was really nice. He was a little over the top, we'll say. And Coach Vic goes, I thought that guy might be like
He was a Ted Bundy.
I thought he could be like a Ted Bundy. I was like, Coach Bob, don't stand too close to the rail. He might push you over.
But he did take some nice pictures.
And he was a super nice guy. And a very pleasant guy, he was. So today was Kingman, Arizona to Gallup, New Mexico. We saw some very interesting things today. Some very disturbing and some very intriguing and some just downright cool. As we drove through the res today, we saw some lockdowns in effect where you had vehicles, guards basically at entry points, not allowing anyone to come and go from the reservation. The outbreak has been pretty big here from what they say, so they have a mandatory lockdown. There are like 5 reservations surrounding Gallup is what I'm told, and that it's really impacted the Native Americans greatly. So it's pretty serious out there apparently. But that was a little odd as we ride through a main thoroughfare, and then all of the offshoot roads that go back into the reservation all had vehicles with guards there. Pretty serious business there today. So that was the kind of odd, and it really made you feel bad for people, you know, where we often take our freedom for granted, and the idea that we can get on a beautiful machine and ride across this great country of ours and have the freedom to do what we want to do while someone else is struggling and being locked down. I just don't want to take it for granted. So a little introspective thought there today from Coach Bob when it came to that. Also, my face is starting to hurt, windburn, sunburn, you know, and I'm wearing sunscreen and lip balm and lip gloss and whatever the heck you want to. I don't wear lip gloss, do I?
Oh, lip balm. No.
So if my face looks a little interesting, I've got the white eyes where my sunglasses have blocked the sun, and if I look a little unshaven, right now my skin's a little tender. We start up in our mileage a little bit tomorrow. We're going to be leaving Gallup, New Mexico for Amarillo, Texas. When we leave here in the morning, it will be in the 40s. Yesterday it was so hot, and then tomorrow in the 40s. It's just very intriguing to me how the weather can be so dramatically different. So tomorrow, first stop will be Albuquerque, New Mexico, 138 miles. Then Albuquerque to Santa Rosa, New Mexico, 118 miles. And then Santa Rosa to Tucumcari, and that is 60 miles. And the reason that breakup is like that, there's just not a lot between Tucumcari and Amarillo. So Amarillo, our last one, is a 110 mile stretch for a total of 426 miles. Each day will get a little bit longer. Today's 442, and then the last day, I guess, 432.
What about this day?
Oh, wait. Whoa, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, 442, 432, and 444.
We have 4 more days of driving. Wow.
So basically, we have the same number of days that we had to go all the way across in the other direction. We put in some big miles on the way out. I find that the stopping and starting is fun, and we get to talk a lot more, and we get to see a lot more. But if you really want to lock down and do some big miles on the Spyder, you can do some big miles. And I don't find myself any more or less fatigued at 400 miles as I do at 600. I'm just being quite frank. I don't, you know, you're spending more time in the saddle, and if your butt's not hurting, if you got that butt buffer or some sort of cushion where your honey ain't hoiting, I think you could easily do 600 miles a day if you can focus.
Right.
The heat, the cold, the rain, whatever, it's very easy for that to distract you, make you start focusing on the negative things, and all of a sudden those miles do become more arduous. For the most part, I really don't feel much of a difference in my body and in my fatigue. I find that the heat has been way more difficult to contend with than the miles.
Right.
But as long as I keep moving, even in the heat, I seem to do okay.
Yep. It's been a good ride.
So Coach Vic, you got anything today that you thought was just super duper cool or whatever that you might want to talk about?
The diversion of going to Walnut Canyon was nice. The little city of Williams, Arizona was nice. Going back and forth. Oh, that was Williams. I went to the gas station 3 times.
while I was talking.
While he was talking to somebody, but yeah.
So also the channel is growing. I want to thank you guys. Like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff.
Yeah, he's doing really good.
The channel, no, we are doing.
Well, you know, it's Coach Bob.
So the channel's growing. We are grateful, grateful, grateful. If we look a little tired.
I am. We are.
We're a little tired. With that said.
We had pizza tonight for dinner.
Yeah, we did. Are you sleepy?
Yeah, but I'm not gonna be able to fall asleep though. But yeah, I just want to lay down. Prop up the legs. Prop up the legs.
Yep. We're going to get some sleep.
Get some sleep.
We're going to get up early in the morning.
And I hear it's going to be chilly willy in the morning.
I'll be getting up at 4:45 a.m. I'll run down there, gas the Spyder up, bring it back, load it up, get Coach Vic loaded up. Hope to be rolling 5:45 to 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock's going to work just good, just fine.
If we could do it at 5:30, that'd be great. I don't think that's going to happen. Is that going to happen? No. Okay. All right. So, see you in the morning.
All right. See ya.